Boy, I'm excited about this one here tonight. In prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all music and wrestling matters. Sportswire Radio here, and I'm back with a man for his usual segment here. And I was thinking about this before we were going to go on here tonight. This man I have known, I don't know why he keeps coming on, but I have known him now for almost 6 years. For 6 years, every time after the Five Towns College men's soccer season, we get the exit interview. We're going to talk about this season. We're going to talk about the highs, some lows, but a lot of highs as always, because after all, this man's winning percentage, well, it's pretty damn good. It's a lot better than mine here on Sportswire Radio. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some of the players. We're going to talk about some of the moments. We're going to certainly talk about October 29th. We're going to certainly talk about November 2nd. We're going to talk about winning a Coach of the Year award once again. We're going to talk about the athletics program. We're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about some international players who maybe I need to learn another language. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll also talk about what's going on with our men's amputee soccer team here in America. We'll talk about that with our guest. We'll also talk about maybe some softball references. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about maybe another coach coming on here, first name Jason, last name not Fiscina coming back on. Maybe we'll not bring that one up, but we'll talk about a lot of things. We'll talk about also the word family. And yes, I know family we've spoke a lot about here over the years, but it meant differently this year. And it meant differently with some of our players. We're going to get into that. We're also going to get into all the great things that this man has done. And before I give him the long introduction, the new intro, I know he's going to say, well, it's the same one. But no, it's a little bit. I do war chants now. But I want to thank this man and the athletics program here at Five Towns. I know we have thousands of followers now, thousands of subscribers, all these hot shots and big names that have been on here. But it was this man and the program that he represents. And if it wasn't for them believing in this, believing in me, who knows if he would be here, ladies and gentlemen. So it is my great honor to have this man back here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage. I know he's a humble man. He doesn't really like getting things, but I'm going to give him something, but it's not necessarily for him, but I think he'll get the cue. But ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to start this show and week off here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one, the level radio station where all music and wrestling matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one sports show. I'm in not once, but 2 years in a row as the NICIA Coach of the Year, Conference Champions this year, ranked number one 3 weeks this year, and for 5, that's right, 5 straight years in the USCAAs. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our great honor to introduce the head coach of our United States amputee men's soccer team and the Five Towns Sound men's soccer team. His name is simply put, Jason Fiscina. Sound on. Coach, how are we doing?
Doing well, Tom. We're doing well, and you outdid yourself once again.
I could have made it longer, but I realized you were kind of looking at me. I want to recruit players, and I have to get back out to start the season. And
it's more that your future guests are blowing up my phone already about how things look. So that's where that was. I don't want to keep them waiting. No,
well, I understand that there are future guests here, and people are. Every year I get told, I'm outdoing myself with the intros, but it's not about those intros. We have a lot to talk about, and I always every time before we go and do this, I know we do this every year after the season. I always go back and watch what we said last time to kind of give me an idea, almost to compare and contrast. I don't do that for my guest a lot because you do this every year. You come on here once, if we're lucky, twice in a year. So I'm going to start out, though, as I always do, especially for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that you most certainly helped build alongside the Five-Town Sound men's soccer team and the athletics program. Talk to me about how do you feel now about the 2025 season now that has come to an end?
I mean, it's a memorable one. It's anytime you win, you really can't compare winning. It's just always euphoric, and it's something that lasts forever, right? So those championship teams always get remembered, and this group will go down as one that will be remembered. And they did it on a very difficult path, playing at the Division I level, playing against fully international squads. And I couldn't be more proud of them. It maybe didn't end the way we wanted it to, but we put up another banner in the gym, and, it was another great season. And we, in a year where there was a lot of unknown at the beginning of the year, I think they got better as the year went on, and they really bought in. And I couldn't be happier with how we finished. And to win another championship at Five Towns is really special.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have said this. We've known each other now for a long time. We're going on 6 years, and it seems like that's pretty much been the theme. And one of the things that you said that I thought was interesting, it always seems to be here with the school and the team, maybe with the exception of that magical 21 season. That was just one of those that we're going to look back, 50 years from now and say that was special. But it always feels like to me that this team gets stronger as the season goes on. Why do you think that it is that way each time the season goes on? Is it because maybe coaching, personnel, schedule, and you're adjusting to it? What do you think it is, and why the team always performs so well later on in the season?
I think it's a testament to the program, right? It's a testament to guys coming in every day and buying into the process of getting better and, not looking too far ahead, but staying locked into our mission and our vision. It is a credit to our coaching staff as well for, continuing to get everyone better and our players working on getting better every single day. And when you just stay obsessed with the process of a dare to be better mentality, you become successful and you reach your potential. And I think with this group, it just was another year of doing that with a very difficult schedule. Weekends where we were playing back to back. Every weekend was a back.
You traveled a lot more this year. I felt like the travel in the regular season, not just obviously going down to nationals, but you guys were like all over the place here in the Northeast.
We lived on a coach bus, basically.
I know, because I know you and I, we talk periodically because I always feel like, and I say this all the time, you're here every year. I feel like you're the Yankees. Don't bother you during the season, here and there you want to talk. And I know after the last couple of weeks, we've been talking again to do this, but, I just think this year was the frequent miles you had on the road in terms of, I'm sure, stops at the gas station and the restrooms must have increased tenfold this year.
I mean, I got used to knowing certain rest stops, for every trip was basically combined. You had 2 games in a weekend. It was a battle, and you were playing top teams in the USCAA, teams that were ranked in the top 10 every weekend. And, we had to perform, and it wasn't easy to do so. But this group, bought into 11 hearts beating as one, bought into being a family, and, raised the championship at the end of the day, which, you don't compare championships, and that 21 team will always be the first one. But this team kind of etched their own way in that how the difficult path they had to get there. Playing in the USCA Division I, beating teams that were ranked number 1, beating previously national championship teams, championship programs, speaks a lot. To, again, a small school on Long Island, known for music, for us to now have set a standard now for 5 years straight, making the national tournament, I think has left the mark, and it's definitely something I'm proud of.
And it's all great stuff. And, it's 5 straight years now that we're in the USCA. We're going to talk a lot about the season here throughout the next hour plus, but that's a really hard thing to achieve. You think about anything, right? That's a number of different sets of classes that you had. As I said, the first time you came on here, and I always remember like yesterday, was right before COVID, right before this whole thing that everybody, talked about and went on into what it was. And yet it's 5 straight years we're in the USCS. That also adds into at least 3 different groups of classes that you've had here. Come on, you've been here on the job for 7 years. We're talking about 7 years here at Five Towns, and you've done this through 3 different sets of senior classes. And what does that mean to you and the team and the program now that it's 5 straight years in the USCAAs? What does that mean to you?
It's something that's hard to even think that was achievable. To give you an idea, obviously you always have aspirations of winning it all, but to go there 5 straight years, I don't, I'd have to go back and look, but not too many programs can say that. I know locally, very few programs can say that they've done that at their level. So it's definitely an elite accomplishment. It's an accomplishment that first goes to our players and the culture that they've created and the bond they've created with each other. It goes to our coaching staff who's worked tirelessly to keep that standard up high. With this group, I was honest with these guys from day one. And what I told them was really simple. I felt that they weren't my most talented group, but I felt they were going to be arguably my most successful group with how connected they had the potential to be. And that sort of refused to lose mentality, that refused to break mentality was on display throughout this season. And it's something that, as a coach, it was really enjoyable in those games. We talk about the 29th of October, even beating Syracuse earlier in the year, tying Darren and Berkeley early on in the year. You kind of knew you had something.
And we know Berkeley's always been a rival for us,
right. And even going to the first game of the year against Fisher, which is a NAIA school with a lot of resources, to get a result there early, really.
You battled Maritime. We always play that obligatory game with Maritime. I mean, your schedule.
Yeah, so there were signs. There were definitely signs, and I think this group really embodied the program's mission, not more than anyone else, but definitely in recent years, they definitely are a true example of what it means to wear an FTC shirt and to wear the crest and to represent the program. So I couldn't speak higher of these guys.
Absolutely no question about that. And I want to, first of all, plug the Five Town Sound men's soccer team on Instagram. We will get to certain individuals here in the chat shortly, and I'm sure that they will be very delighted to be returning on Sportswire Radio. But if you are here, I'd like to plug the Five Town Sound men's soccer team because they have been such strong boosters of our platform here over the years. And the way to help the program and support them is certainly going on Instagram, giving a follow, Facebook. Yeah, they have a Facebook page, and certainly supporting Coach Fiscina and all the great things that he has done here. And he is with us once again for his exit interview, his annual exit interview here on Sports Radio. We're very, very happy about that. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voiced figuratively and literally with all music, all wrestling, and all sports matters. One of the things that I didn't initially think to ask you, but I want to bring it up now because I was so fascinated in what some of the players had said, and this was in the lead up going into the tournament here. It was something that I thought I knew you, and I guess I didn't know you as well as I thought, because the players know you certainly a lot better. Is that one of your biggest strengths is kind of coaching in terms of just more or less matchups. You know how to put players in the right spots. And the players were talking about this, some of them obviously, and this was an interview right before, again, the tournament. And what did they mean by that in terms of something you know how to do is to adjust? The matchup reports, and you're very good at putting players to perform to get the best matchups possible for our guys to go out there and win. Talk to me about it, because I'm sure you heard what they had said.
Yeah, it was very nice. Obviously, I appreciate the compliment, but I think it just goes back to being prepared, right? The will to win is important, but the will to prepare is essential. And we're gonna, my coaching staff will sometimes get frustrated with me because it's late at night, and
you have one in particular that I know certainly may get frustrated with you in particular.
Yeah, but I sometimes, and listen, when we win, it's great, but when we lose, I can get into a dark place, and I'm thankful to have Wells, Topol, Morelli, and Glancy to kind of pull me out of that, because I'll overthink things sometimes. I'll overreact, but I never want to be out prepared. I never want to be outworked. I know I'm not the smartest coach. I know I'm not, the most technical, but when it comes to preparation, from how we get off the bus to how we warm up to what we wear to how we're going to play out the back, how we're going to attack. Like I want our players to have as much information as possible. And the way you build that is by knowing your players well. and just taking it day by day and being able to really see where they shine the best. We made some adjustments this year, moving guys around to different positions that they never played before, and they ended up doing really well. I know we'll talk about Danny Valverde, but
We'll talk about him. Yes,
he comes up right away, comes from being a right back to now one of the top goal scorers in the USDAA and is the first team All-American. But other tweaks we did throughout the year, whether it was formationally or switching guys around or substitutions. But that's just, I always have this thing where, again, I'm not the brightest guy in the room, but, no one's going to try to no one should be able to outwork you. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in. And, I'm glad that they recognize that, because, what your players think about you is really important, especially in this day and age of coaching and teaching. It's not like the old school way where it's coach says this and that, and that's about it.
I know.
There's player empowerment, and you have to do things.
I think it's even changed from when you first came on here. I think 100%. I go back to 7 years ago when you took the job. I think it's even such a different world from then.
I mean, between teaching and coaching, I see it every single day. You can't just rule with an iron fist anymore. You have to turn around. The kids have to believe that you believe in them before they do anything for you. And, that's something that, even talking with guys like Sebastian Montenegro, like a former captain of mine, he'll come by practice or a game and be like, wow, this is so much softer that, some of these kids are, but at the end of the day, like, it's just a different mentality. And not everyone is built the same way, but if you're able to kind of tweak into what motivates them and get them to buy into playing for the crest and sacrificing for the greater good, the team, you'll be successful. And, that's what I think that all kind of shapes up as.
Yeah, absolutely. No, listen, I definitely think that that's something that it also goes back to what you said about maybe the team didn't have the same talent as the 21 team, but you guys from preparation and just being ready, it overcame maybe some of those shortcomings talent-wise and why you all were so successful. And the other thing that they had said, which I thought really made a lot of sense, because this is something I know we've talked a lot about with over the years. And I know one coach that's particular in here in the chat, I know I've spoken to him when he's been on here in the past. It's the word family. But family has a different meaning than when you and I have spoke about it in the past. And I thought it was so interesting to hear the players talk about it and this term, and just talk to me about what it means for the audience and just how that also played a role into the success for the team this year.
It's funny that acronym was kind of like a in locker room acronym that we've used forever. And fifth year Anthony Campos shared it, and I would be lying if I didn't get a little smile out of it. So basically, and I stole it from Coach Fleck over at Minnesota. I'm one of these guys that really learns from other coaches and kind of sees motivationally, and I try to put that into my practice. So family for us is forget about me, I love you, and we show our love with how much we sacrifice for each other. And that's player wise, coaching wise. Like our players, we have a lot of kids who financially struggle and they sacrifice, whether it's working or supporting their families, to be at practice every day. Our coaching staff, we're all part-time. This is a part-time gig for me. It's a part-time gig for Wells, Morelli, Topol, Glancy, and we kind of all sacrifice that family time on weekends, long bus rides together. And if we're going to make this sacrifice together, we better be doing it for guys that we love. And that's something that, yes, it's corny, and I'm sure people could poke fun at it, but for us, it just means everything. And I truly believe that's why we rose a championship trophy this year. Again, teams were more talented than we were. They had more international players. They had more experience, but our bond just we had a refuse to lose mentality that we weren't going to break. And even when things got tough, we found a way to bounce back. We were down in games, fought all the way back. And you saw that throughout the year, even in ties. There were games where we played awful and probably deserved to lose. And we found a way to get a result. And it just was a refuse. And that's why I knew this group was special, even getting the 4 seed going into conference playoffs because of those ties. I felt good about the group. I felt really good about the group, and I felt that we could go up to Syracuse and make some noise. And boy, did we do that. And
we're going to definitely talk about
that. It all the way.
But what you did, and it's so interesting that you had said some of those things, because that has always been a topic, and to why I've always identified still with the program here at Five Towns, because we know the struggles and the sacrifices that all of you make, whether it's staff, the players throughout the years. And that's kind of why I've still always identified with Five Towns, going back to my days and just, covering college sports. Obviously, it's a totally different platform that I'm on now, but I always, to me, sympathize with the players that you have in the program and your coaching staff as well, because, we're not getting, full scholarships. We're not getting the big money to coach here, unlike some other coaches that might be here in this stream. But, the point is that you guys put a lot into this. You guys really, this is a family. And I think that that's why you have all been successful throughout these years. And that's why 5 straight years you've made the USCAs. We're going to talk about some of the players here in a minute, but there was another stat that you and I were talking about, which I, was just amazed in terms of the schedule and being number 1 in the regular season for 3 weeks. I know we've talked about you before with undefeated seasons and, superstar player here, superstar, but you didn't have that like you had in 21 and 22. And, this team overcame some things, it overcame a schedule. And for you and the players, what did it mean to be ranked number 1 for 3 weeks during the regular season?
I mean, at first it was I don't want to say it was a surprise in a bad way, but I always prepare our guys for the worst. And, when the preseason rankings came out and we were tied for second, I was pretty excited, but I knew that there was a lot of work to do. And, Syracuse coming into the conference with Rochester and Berkeley, those are 3 teams. So I kind of joked with a lot of people that like we were forming the SEC of the USCAA. It was a little much, you're used to a conference that was balanced. And to give you an idea, teams like Albany and teams like Bloomfield are on the come up and we're competitive this year and we'll be competitive next year. And the same with Buffalo. Buffalo almost beat us. Like the fact was, it was a gauntlet of a conference. So although we were 1, I knew we had a lot of work to do. I never felt comfortable that we were definitely getting into the tournament because you had such high pressure games every weekend. You felt that you could swing anywhere. And like, for instance, Rochester was like ranked 10th or 9th or wasn't even ranked.
Yeah, I noticed that the teams that everybody, in terms, if you looked at the standings and you looked at the overall play, it's a game of inches. I mean, if you look at like everybody that was bunched up, not like in years past. Where
every game was competitive and every game had such a swing. Like, and especially because you have some schools that don't play a lot of USCAA teams, so they kind of have it not safe, but they're in a situation where they're playing Division III schools, they're playing NAIA schools. So like if they lose, like they don't drop as much. Where if you didn't get a result here, you dropped. And like Rochester, which everyone knows the relationship I have with Coach Wynn over at Rochester. He's on my national staff with the U.S. amputee team. And, we would talk during the season a little bit. And basically it was one of those things where one little break changed you from being second and first, or being out of the tournament at 8th or 9th.
I was going to say, because if you look at the team, the statistics and everything else, I mean, like I said, a game of inches almost.
It was very tight. There wasn't a lot of those, and I know for us there was not a lot of those blowouts. And that was kind of getting back to what I said, not about not having we were a grinded out team. That's what our style was. And it wasn't pretty, but we didn't care. It was about getting results.
And even offensively, we've talked about in years past, you guys would have had 70 goals during the season, 60, 70 goals. This year it was, grinded out. I mean, yes, we're going to talk about, Reyes. We're going to talk about Washington. We're going to talk about some of the other players, Hickling. But I mean, this year, it really, yes, you were ranked up there in certain stats offensively, but I felt like this team was more of
it was a complete team. I think the word to say is complete. We were.
Yes, I was going to say you were balanced. You were a well balanced.
Yeah, we were well balanced, and we could win in multiple ways. We could score goals. We could defend. I think, our defense was really, really good. And, we're going to talk about Garcia and how special he was, but he was I'll be biased right now. He was the top goalkeeper in the country this year. First team All-American, and kept us in games, PK saves to keep games tied, PK saves in overtime. I mean, the kid was phenomenal. And shout out to Brentwood's, soccer, which is arguably the top program on Long Island for kids. And he was the first one we got, and we'll talk about other stuff. But we were a more balanced team this year, without question. We could beat you a multitude of ways, and it wasn't always 7-0. It was 1-0 and ugly, and get an ugly tap-in goal. But at the end of the day, it was about getting results, and that's what we did. And I think that really set the tone for us to lift the trophy up.
Absolutely, no question about that. And let's start talking about some of those players now. Let's certainly go individually in some of the players that obviously were First of all, let's go with our first team All-Americans. You mentioned one, and I got to talk about Jose Garcia. I know there's some people here in the chat. I'll say hello to you shortly, but Jose Garcia, you mentioned it. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, you and I were talking about this. I think led the nation in shutouts right there. A number of stats, goals allowed, save percentage. I mean, he was just. I mean, automatic. You've had some great goaltenders, by the way. I want to point that out. You've had some really good goalies over the years, and Garcia, I mean, ranks up there, and like I said, in the nation. You got to talk about him to start things off.
And to give you an idea, the former USCA National Player of the Year / HVAC Player of the Year, Stephen Paguada, will tell you Garcia.
I remember I had him on.
His direct quote will tell you is that Garcia is better. And no, like that's the honest truth. And let me tell you, the maturation. Jose has always had the talent. Talent has never been a question with Jose. His maturation from freshman year to sophomore year has been tremendous. He's really bought into our goalkeeping coach, Coach Morelli. They have this whole theme about being a goldfish, which is this idea of not letting anything faze you. And this year, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was the calmest and the most toughest of moments for us. And you want to talk about, big penalty saves. It doesn't come, I'll talk about two of them, actually. The first one against Bloomfield tied 0-0.
Yes.
And he saves one there to keep us at 0-0. And then we're up in Bryan Stratton, Syracuse in double overtime with 2 minutes to go. We give up a penalty, and he doesn't just save the penalty, but saves the rebound. I mean, that stuff we'll talk about 30, 40, 50 years from now. And, they were on the sidelines, basically thinking the game was over. They were celebrating that it was that they had won. And then, Garcia saves two, and we go to Pens and win it. I can't speak more about him. I'm more proud of the off the field maturity. The on the field's great too, but he's grown into a young man that I'm very proud of, and I'm very excited to see where the future lies for him. I think he's going to have a great next 2 years here, both on the field and in the classroom. Again, he was phenomenal for us. He definitely set the tone in the back for us, for sure.
Yeah, and again, you and I have talked about Pagoya. I mean, listen, you want to talk about praise, and he's definitely been there. And again, Garcia, I think you make a good point. He did this with I think a more difficult schedule, and certainly high praise, and we'll continue to praise him throughout the show. And the guy obviously who's at the top offensively is Danny Valverde. 22 points for you, double digits in goals. I mean, you always have somebody here in this program that's your top scorer, and he was that player for you this year. And talk to me about him, another first team All-American for you. You had three of them.
Well, Danny is a great story. Danny comes from Pat Med. He was a kid that his high school coach was like, listen, you take Danny. He's going to be a program kid for you. He's going to work his butt off every day and get better. And his first 2 years, he got time at right back, but, he was really struggling to hone in on a starting spot. We had a little bit of a hole up front with Groover tearing his ACL again.
Yes. We
had a recruit fall through that we thought we were going to get late. Couldn't get a visa. So the forward spot was kind of open, and we were looking at you. And this is where coaching comes in those conversations. And we were talking about traits of what we would want in a forward. And Danny works his butt off. He's good in the air at winning headers. He has those traits. So we were like, you know what? Why don't we put Danny up there and let's see how it works out. And he took advantage of the opportunity. And, to go from a kid who, we wasn't really sure if he was getting recruited out of high school to now he's a first team All-American. It's a testament to him and the work ethic he's put in. He's a hardworking, hard-nosed kid. He's a program kid that, guys love being around. Just works his butt off every single day to get better. And and this is not a knock on him, but certain players are, naturally gifted. Danny earns everything he gets.
But that's the theme of this team.
Into the player that he is. And
that's the theme of this year's team is that players went out there and earned it. They brought their lunch pail, if it's such a thing, and went out there and just did the work. I think that's, to me, kind of the overall theme of this team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, without that's what I kind of saw from afar. When you put them together in a room and we had our first team meeting, you kind of saw that there was a blue collarness to this group that was we aren't the maybe the blue chip guys, but we're a group of guys that are gonna battle, and we're gonna find ways to win. And that to me, it was so enjoyable to coach. It was so enjoyable to know that we were going to give 110% every match day, and we were going to just get better, and we were going to be a pain in the neck to beat. And we were a pain in the neck to beat all year. You did not go
you
down
definitely
easy.
were. No, absolutely. And I'm going to talk about Anthony Campos next. Obviously, another guy that had, right behind Valverde. I mean, you had a bunch of them. You were a well-balanced attack. It was both sides of the ball. But talk to me about Campos.
I mean, Campos is the glue to this whole situation. Anthony, we don't, and Andre, you can put in there too. But Anthony,
Andre, we've talked
about, we'll go in there. But Anthony Campos, let's give him his flowers right now. He's the conference player of the year, and he does things both offensively and defensively that wins matches for you. He's our engine. He's our, he was our captain. He goes up there and leads by example every single day. He was more vocal this year than he's ever been. He helped in regards to holding people accountable, where in the past, I've always had to kind of jump in, but the best teams are led by players, or when they're player led. And Anthony would, call guys into the office and be like, "Coach, can we just borrow Mateko's office for a minute?" And I would just and he would call them in, and he would address what needs to get done. They had a weekly meeting on Mondays in the locker room without me to go over expectations. And those little things, yes, they don't show up on score sheets, but they win soccer matches for you, and they win championships for you. And again, the player he is on the field, he was an even better leader off the field as well. And we don't lift the trophy if it's not for Anthony getting everyone to buy in. He's going to be greatly missed. I got to find.
I'm going to talk about the seniors. We have a bunch of them. It's the thing I hate doing every year is always the seniors, because it's you get to know them. And then that's it. I mean, that's always the worst part for me.
And Anthony and Andre, we were lucky. We got a fifth year out of with the USCAA.
I was going to say, because I remember Andre back in 21. I remember that.
Yeah, the USCAA approving a fifth year for guys that took a little extra time, whether it was transferring in to graduate or having to take a semester off. So Andre and Campos got a fifth year, and they couldn't have done a better job of setting an example of what to do every single day. And I could talk to you about Anthony for the next 2 hours. So I'm going to stop. But again, can't say anything more about him as a leader and as a person and what he did for this group.
And I'm going to talk about Andre Hickling, obviously the other name you mentioned, who's been here, like you said, for 5 years. And he was another player that was very important for you this year, second team. And just what did he bring this year once again for us?
Yeah, and Andre is a first-team guy, in my opinion. I
agree with you.
He should have been a first-team player. Andre and I had a very rough end of his year last year, going into nationals. And I'll be honest with you, and I'll share, I had people on my staff that were like, "Do not bring Andre back." And I was looking at who we had coming back, and I said, "Guys, I would not be able to go to bed at night if I don't at least try to bring Andre back into the fold." And we had one conversation at the beginning. And when I tell you, he made a complete 180 change. He was at everything. He was all about the team. He couldn't have done more. He held down the back line for us as a center back, really anchored our defense and had a really big year. And he was a reason, guys looked up to him because he's as a talent perspective, he's probably has the most natural traits, talent that we've had in this program. And what he did this year in regards to just being a great teammate made it even better. And all he cared about was he didn't care about the individual. All he wanted to do was win this year. And, he kept saying, "Coach, I think we're going to do it. Coach, I think we're going to do it." Because he saw the grinded out players that we had this year. It was just a different tone. It was a more mature tone, which we'll get into why, part of that was the 2 fifth year guys, but also having the internationals. They kind of changed things, just the 4 of them, which we'll get into.
We're going to get into that, yeah.
But Andre had a great year. Yeah, Andre had a great year. And again, it led to a championship. So now him and Campos, 2-time conference champions, 5 appearances in the national tournament.
What an amazing run.
Once we get a Hall of Fame at 5 towns, it's going to be hard to keep.
We have a Sportzwire Hall of Fame. I'm certainly happy to add as many new Hall of Famers in. We're going to certainly honor the team in a little while. But, think about that for a second before I get to some other players. 5 years here, right? And 5 appearances. I've done college sports, on and off. Obviously, 5 times is the only thing I really do college-wise. every year, but to have 5 years you played and 5 years, guys would kill. I remember when I was covering John Jay and it was one appearance. They got one appearance, in something. It was a big deal. One, appearance to win a game. And they got 5 years in the Nationals. What an amazing career that is.
I'll enjoy it one day, right? I'll enjoy it.
I know you got to recruit next year.
When you're in it, it's just when you're in it, it's just a grind to get there. And I think as a staff, listen, to go down to Pittsburgh, it's enjoyable, right? You get to go away, and it's a big deal. And it's one of those things that as the season goes on, you try not to think about it because you're just in the day-to-day process. But you start looking at things, and I think this year there was probably more anxiety just with the amount of games we played and the competition we played that we knew we didn't want to slip up. So getting there was like a big exhale, right? It was like because let's look at how the season ends. We had some ties early. We lost to Berkeley in a classic game at their place, 4-3, like nothing to be ashamed of. And you end the season with Brian Stratton Rochester at Brian Stratton Rochester. You get a result there. And you're the 4 seed. Like you have this great year, but you're the 4 seed in your conference, and your gift is to go up to Syracuse, who wants to really take it to you because you're their only loss all year, and you find a way to get a result up there, and then you have to play Rochester, who you just played 2 weeks ago in the conference final on a neutral site, and you beat them there. Like that run. Those are 2 programs that in the past 5 years have won multiple, Syracuse has won multiple conference championships, multiple national championships. Rochester won a national championship 2 years ago. Like that road is as hard of a road as you're going to get in the USDAA.
So what was the mindset then going into the conference? Because I've had you on some years, like I said, 21, 22. Then last year was what it was.
The mindset with the group was we could beat them. We had confidence, but to give you an idea, it was also a midweek game, which meant we were traveling without it was just me, no coaching staff. It was middle of the week. And we went up the night before, and we believed, but privately, if you asked me beforehand, I would tell you, listen, this is going to be a gauntlet of a test, but I knew we would be competitive. And they had a lot of shots on us early. They're 1-0 at half, but the thing was we were so battle tested this year, Tom, and we had gone through so many tough things that we were not gonna back down. And within 1 minute of the second half, we got one. Then they got one, we got one. We're up 3-2 with like 8 minutes to go. We give up. They get a goal. They get a goal late with like 2 minutes left. And again, most teams would have put their head down and yelled at each other. Garcia's just telling everyone to calm down. We got this. And everyone was calm. And we refused to break. And I think that's something that's a testament to their will and their refusal to lose. And when you get her, and again, I don't think Syracuse has lost at home. It's probably 5 years, 6 years. They don't lose at home. They don't lose at home. They don't lose at home. And for us to do that, I mean, it's kind of hard not getting the chills thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, think about those things. And I did want to talk about a few more players. We also put up the Five Town Sound men's soccer team website. Please go out there and find out more information on the team. We'll get to the chat. I know people want to talk to you. Some of your players do, and I'm going to give them the opportunity in a minute. But I also have to talk about the likes of another senior, Gabriel Santos, who was big for you in a lot of other occasions. And talk to me about.
Yeah, you couldn't put up a bigger name that I just smile about, because coming into junior year last year, he tried to leave the team because he had to work. And I was like, Gabe, we're going to make this work. Whether you come to, we're going to make it work, Gabe. He's another glue guy. He's a guy, he plays in the middle with Campos, and his stats do not show you the impact Gabe has on winning. He's the smallest guy on the field, but he's got the biggest heart. He, has a
that's always been the mindset,
part of our mantra of not breaking down is Gabe Santos as well. That kid wanted a ring so bad and wanted to, because he was not here in 21, right? He came in 22. So he really wanted to leave. And we had been, and I think part of this team, like your teams always bring past experiences with them, right?
Right.
So you look at 21, everything was great. We won. 22, 23, 24, conference finals ended in tears. 22 and 22, we lose 3-1. 23, we lose in the 9th round of penalties. 24, we basically play a final down.
Yeah,
players
we didn't even know it in I think last year. Again, we talked about it. We didn't even know if you were going to make the tournament. I mean, think about that.
I think that was two years ago.
23.
Last year we were in as a
23 though. That was the year.
23 we did not know.
We didn't know exactly. So think about that.
23 was when we lost in the 9th round of penalties. We were crying that our season was done and we thought it was over.
I remember talking to you, and you said, I remember the exact words were, like we weren't expecting to get in, and we got in. I mean, that was the
you never know with those things, right? But what I was trying to get at is that all those years of pain, and suffering, it just pushed the group to, we were going to win this year, and whatever it took, whatever sacrifice they needed to do, whatever we needed to do as a group, we were going to do that to make sure we came out victorious. And again, I understand the national thing is still out there, but when you win a championship, and again, when you've been there and that's the other thing, aside from 5 straight years at nationals, 5 straight years playing in the conference final. And this is not the HVAC where, maybe the first couple of years it was us in Berkeley. The past 2 years.
You got like 7-8 schools in
past 2 years that are very competitive. And for our little school from Long Island that's known for music, that is this ragtag bunch to be. And again, I think as I get older, you get more perspective on it. It's a testament to our players, and it's a testament to our coaching staff that we don't look at ourselves as some.
Yeah, this is not a school. We've talked about this for so many years. This is not a school that is known for athletics. This is a school that is really doesn't have much of a history in this, and yet you've turned it into this thing where you guys are comparable, to quote teams in other sports, what the Patriots were in the NFL for a time. People talk about the Braves in baseball, the Astros. You're up there with those teams that consistently would be the Spurs. Before they took a nosedive. I mean, you're right there in terms of thinking about teams that consistently are there, and you've done that with kind of your hands tied behind your back, whether it's for facilities, whether it's cost, whether it's just recruiting, all with these schools. And not to say that you're handicapped by the school at all, not saying that, but compared to what the other schools have, with the other schools and their pedigree and their history, the national championships, what they bring to the table. And yet you've done this. I mean, you've done this from scratch. Think about that for a second. You have done that from scratch.
It's almost overwhelming when you think about it. But again, it's just about having a vision and getting guys to sacrifice and be a part of a family. And we've been lucky enough to do that for 5 years. And even the first year we were here, right? We were ranked, 9th in the nation as a first-year program. So top 10 every year we've played.
The big win against Berkeley at the very beginning, that was kind of the program builder.
Yeah, it kind of set a standard. And I think this, and what's been really cool is, during the Syracuse game, seeing the alumni chat, your phone. I don't like to look at my phone during the game. And there's like 85 messages, and all the alumni are watching on the live stream going nuts. And that's something that's really cool, right? So like we've had this program, and yes, every year you're focused on the team, but now to have like an alumni group of guys that are supporting you and that are following the group and they're coming to games, it's awesome, and it shapes the whole program. It makes the program feels like it's something bigger, and that's something that's really cool that's kind of forming right now.
Absolutely, no question about that. We are here with the head coach of the Five-Town Sound men's soccer team and also the head coach of the United States amputee men's soccer team, Mr. Jason Fiscina. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally with all music and wrestling. Let me get to some people here in the chat. Then we'll come back on the other side and we'll talk about some other moments here in the season and also talk about some players. Zilla is here first. Zilla is my favorite from Sportswire. Wanted to come and say hello. And speaking of people that I want to announce that are back on here 3 weeks from today, a man you certainly have some history with off the field and certainly not on the court, but Mr. Jason Godieso. Obviously, Coach G is returning to Sportswire for the first time in a couple of years, and he wanted the intro, and I know you have no comment for him because he's not a Five-Town Sound athletics department member, but he did want the intro, and he's here, and I'm excited to have him back here in 3 weeks. I know you'll be busy that day recruiting, but nevertheless, he'll be back here in 3 weeks. It was funny, trying a career in stand-up comedy. My guest yesterday was a wrestler and said maybe I should try that. But we won Coach Raff, top-notch trainer.
Raphael. He's talking about Raphael. He's talking about Mr. Raphael
Yes.
from Italy.
Yes. I
He's
was going
actually
to ask you about him. I
Yeah,
mean, you got
Rafa
two players from Italy.
Yes, Rafa is from Italy, and Rafa
Yes.
is, again, I think he's one of these guys that off the field has really changed our program with really just setting a high standard of high character and high value. On the field, he's also a very good, defender for us, plays center back, played a couple other positions for us as well. But Rafa also just taking a serious approach and leading by example. I think he's got the potential to wear an armband for us one day. He actually worked out Gorieso's son, which is why he's saying that. I think he would be a great guy if you could get him on Sportswire.
The door is always open. You tell me.
He does all our social media posts, or is all him.
Well, he is always welcome. Listen, you always come first, but then you tell me who wants to come on afterwards, and we will have the door wide open.
He's got a great story, and he's just a great young man, and he's really changed.
When I saw the last name Pisani, I'm like, who do I know from I was like in my head, who do I know from Bensonhurst and Diker Heights and Gravesend with Pisani? I'm going, seriously, I have to think about that because I have 5,000 contacts in my phone. I got to go shoot. There's probably somebody related to this guy that I probably see all the time in the neighborhood. So,
he's great. And he's kind of, him having so many guys live on campus has also changed our dynamic of our team, right? Because now guys are more hanging out around campus. They're going out together. But again, he has definitely made our program better, without question.
And another
Gene, aka Wheezy. He battled injury all year. He scored some big goals for us and, played some big minutes for us, especially in the Brian Stratton Syracuse game victory. Again, an older guy, both him and Rafa are transfers, and just bringing that sort of experience and professional mindset to our group definitely made our program better.
What now, talk to me. I know there's some people here in the chat. I'm going to get to them in a minute, but adding international players, I know in the other teams we've had here at Five Towns over the years, that's kind of been a thing, but this is the first year I can remember where you had several international players. What do you think that added to the team this year and the team's success?
Maturity, professionalism, high level of play. And again, we're going against rosters where you could go, whoever wants to Google it, I'm not telling you to do it. But Rochester and Syracuse are fully international rosters.
I knew we've talked about
the national championship is a fully international roster with kids all around the country. So I love recruiting Long Island kids, right? That's something that, and there's Johan you put up, who's from Germany, who played great for us as an outside back and as a center back. Really helped us, especially in the conference final when Rafa went down. He stepped in and played great. With that being said, for us to be competitive, now we're never going to be the school that has 40 internationals. I am realistic with the resources we have at Five.
And you're also known in Long Island, and you coach it. You coach it and teach in Queens. I mean, you're going to be honest. You have a wealth of players in Long Island. We've talked about this in the past.
Yeah, we do, and it's always going to be a large part of our program. But for us to be competitive in Division I, we have to go overseas. We just have to, and we have to get the best Long Island kids we can get, the best kids from Queens, and we have to bring in like really, hardworking international kids that want to come here for an education and to play soccer, and we have to kind of mix it all together. And I think this year with the internationals brought in, you didn't bring up Paulo, but Paulo,
I have Paulo's in this.
Was Garcia's backup. Actually had to start a game because Garcia got hurt right before our game against Rochester at home, and he went in and did a fantastic job, and he pushed Garcia. Part of the reason why Garcia was good all year was Paulo was making him better every single day in practice and was just being a great teammate. Those four guys, Aiden Barrios, another international kid that's been on the roster. He does a lot of theater stuff with the school, but he's from Spain, and he was able to train more with us this year. But having that maturity, being from overseas, really being happy to be at Five Towns. These guys are happy to be a train ride away from New York City. They really are enjoying the moment. And when you're in a good place mentally, it's going to help you play on the field. And
Absolutely. Listen, we just had Men's Mental Health Month just ended, and
yeah,
that's a big
so
thing we
I
talk a
really
lot about
think
on
they
Sportswire.
they did so much for us both on and off the pitch to make us better every single day. That it's something where we're going to tap more into it. We got a list of about 150 recruits, and a large number of them are from overseas. I know Panama's now giving us a few kids because Paulo's here. Italy is, sending us kids. Same thing with Germany, and there's other countries we're tapping into as well. England, Ireland. We have to if we want to compete. We have to tap in. Now, again, I'm never going to be 30, 40 international players. 5 talents just financially doesn't make sense. But will we be able to get up to 10 to 12? I hope so. I really do.
Let me ask you one more question in the recruiting part. I'm going to get to people here in the chat, and I want to give the team stuff. I want to talk about some other things here in the team with the time I have. But speaking about recruiting, we know you're also the head coach of the United States amputee men's soccer team. With that position, once again, has that now helped you in any way, shape, or form with recruiting, especially the players that you're looking to have? I know it's a completely different thing, but in terms of the title you have and the contacts you have, does that help at all?
It brings credibility, right? It brings credibility to what we've done, right? That now from this position,
because you've got the job now for a while. You've had it a year and a half, so it's a different. When I talked to you about it last year to now, I would think that there's a little bit of incumbency. There's a little bit now of an ability. You've got 1 year of recruiting under your belt with that position. And talking about who you've brought in, I was just curious on how that could maybe help us.
I think it's opened up my eyes to certain things, right? Because now I'm doing things on an international level, even though it's not college soccer, but obviously, we're traveling more and stuff like that. Right. I think it brings credibility when, I speak with an international prospective student athlete where it's okay. He's not just coaching at this small college and is a school teacher during the day, like he's coaching a national team. Right. And I think one of our best days of the year actually came after, I believe it was our Fisher game. We got to work out with the Metro amputee group, which is the New York based group.
Wow.
And, our guys actually went on the crutches and they actually played and they went on the crutches and they played with their weaker foot and everything. And I think it was really an eye-opening experience for them. And I think from that perspective, right, it definitely helps kind of build that sort of culture of, understanding, there's bigger things than soccer. And, the idea of you think you're working hard, you can always work a little harder. Right. So, that's where that all lies in that.
It's absolutely great points, and I'm not surprised at all. If you want to follow the men's soccer team, that's their Instagram page. And now that we know Mr. Pisani runs it, go out there. And speaking of Pablo, there is Pablo, and he had some comments, and I want to get to them. And he's definitely on fire, Coach Fiscina, and he's definitely the best coach we've ever had on Sportswire. I know Coach Godieso will certainly disagree with that, but he'll be here in 3 weeks, and I may change my answer for that. But for now, Coach Fiscina, actually, you have been here many more times than Mr. Godieso, but maybe he'll catch up. Who knows? But nevertheless, we'll leave it at that. But actually, there is one coach that I do have to shout out, which actually may top you and Mr. Godieso. Of course, Mr. Matejko, the legendary Coach Matejko, obviously here at our school, and I did want to give him a shout out, and obviously glad that he is back where he needs to be, and good to hear.
He was a pleasure. I told him
an absolute
he made my job so much easier this year, and he really has advocated for this program in ways that I will be forever grateful for. He been fantastic. Our guys see it. If there's something our guys need, he advocates for it. He gets it done for us to the best of his ability. And, seeing him, he came up with us to our conference final, and, he got in the picture and everything like that. And, he really let me just focus on coaching this year. I think in so many years I've been pulled in so many.
I know you basically had the athletic director position last year. I mean, you were the assistant. I mean, you were involved with so many different things. And you had a family too.
Yeah, this year just to be able to focus on coaching the team every day and knowing if I needed something, he would get it done. Was so vital, and it was, Coach, what do you need? And it was not.
I'm so happy he's back at college, not at some school somewhere. I mean, he needs to be at a college school. That just
and listen, he was at a pretty good high school. He was actually at
I know. I heard from different.
He was at my alma mater, but you know what? I think I agree. He's meant to be on the college level. and just seeing his perspective and his calm. And he has a way with the people on campus to really communicate what we need and why we need it. And probably the most effective, which helps us get what we need, right? It's Five Towns, it's a different environment. It's a different school, right? Athletics is not the number one
No, we
be
know
all
that.
end all of what goes on there, and being able to advocate for the right things for us is so crucial. And we never felt this year like we were short at anything, right? He got us everything we needed to be successful and did everything he could. And listen, it was a lot of organizing buses, food, travel, this, that, and he really took a lot of pressure off me, and I'm really forever thankful for it.
Oh, we love Coach Matejko. I can't stress enough the importance of that man to me personally and what he's meant to my success. And I'm going to say that, and that's why I always wish him happy birthday every year. But if I always wonder if he forgot about me, but apparently not. Just kidding. Coach, we are watching you from the dorms, and we love you. Yes, and we thank the players, and we want to make sure they are hitting the books, but we want to have them all on Sportswire still. And yes, you are the HVAC Coach of the Central, though you are the NACIA Coach of the Year back-to-back years. But thank you.
You know who that is, right? That's Mr. Pez Collector, Mr. Johnson.
I know that. Yes, Mr. Dane Johnson. Yeah, Mr. Dane, the Great Dane, and I will promise to get him.
Listen, he's a little upset with you. He wants.
I know. You know how many people. I gotta say this. There's a lot of people upset with me. I had one guy call me up a few weeks ago. You don't have me on my program anymore or whatever, and I never said anything about him. And I have a lot of because they see the big names now, and I'm like, I'm trying. But him, I promise you,
I was going to say that's probably one of the best. That's probably one of the best.
You know what? Actually, I know he on Instagram, and I will get a date with him. And
I think he actually wants you. I think he wants you to do it live.
My problem is my setup now is so different. I have, how many lights I have back in front? I have 10 lights. I can't go anywhere but my own place.
I'm telling you right now, Tom. You tell him what he needs to do to his basement, and he will make sure it's all wired up.
We will bring him back on. My setup, it's like you have no idea how much.
I'm telling you, listen, the guy is running stage crew at my school, putting on plays.
I do want to bring him on. I'll tell you what, if he's got time, I'll tell you what.
I think you need to do it live from.
I know you said that, but
I think you do. I think you do.
If he wants to come back, if he'd like to settle for a quick appearance, not quick, but an appearance in the next week or so, I can bring him on.
I think he would clear his schedule.
All right, so I have free time during the day. We'll bring him back on maybe next week. I'll talk to him off the air, and thank you there, and thank you very much for that. And obviously top recruiter in the game, Grindel, but nothing like a Pez collector. And no, seriously, and you are right about that. I actually do get people occasionally that talk to me about that interview. So, I know people now see, WWE's been on here. Paige Palazzolo's been here. A few wrestlers certainly liked looking at her on the interview, but I'm not going there. But I mean, I've had on the big names in the music business, but there was certainly one of my more favorite interviews, and I'll make sure to get him back on very soon. And yes, Tom Petty is certainly rest in peace. And speaking of people that say that guy, I know that. Now that I know who that is.
That's an inside joke right there. Yeah. That's how Danny reacts to everyone.
Well, you know what?
It's all in good fun.
Of course. But you know what? Speaking of which, I do, before I get to the second part of the show and talk more about the team, I have to give the players something. So maybe I can, hopefully get those players to come onto the platform, because it is Five Towns College Men's Soccer Day here on Sportswire. So I know if I gave you the award, you wouldn't want to take it. But if I gave the team, everybody has to take it. So I did want to recognize the team, and it is the Soccer Men's Day program here on all Sportswire radio platforms. So I'm sure this you can accept, because all the players will bask in this achievement. I did want to talk, before I get to October 29th and November 2nd, I do want to put a bow on our seniors and, recognize them. I know it's, like I said, the worst part of the show for me. I know for you, especially coaching them every year, but talk to me about our seniors and just what they meant here.
I mean, they help continue the standard of winning here, right? And, you have the two guys that got the fifth extra year, right? Campos and Andre. And also technically Groover got a fifth year, right? Even though he didn't get to play, right? But listen, Eric went on every trip with us. He went on every single trip. He was on the sideline, cheering our guys on. Eric was still very much a part of this program. So you have those three. And then you have Gabe Santos, you have Alela. Andy Alfonso is a kid who Andy went through, being on the original team, taking time off of school. I couldn't be more proud of Andy. Andy was a great teammate this year, played big minutes for us in the back, and really loved his time here at Five Towns and sacrificed a lot to be here every single day. He has a very far commute, him and Alela. Both are guys from Queens that
I'm gonna say Maspeth, right? Was Alela was Maspeth.
No, that's Bajos. Bajos was Maspeth, but the three of them are all Queens guys.
That's Central Queens. That's a hike.
It's a hike to get here every day, and they made sacrifices, financially to get here and to do what they had to do, and it just helped set the standard. And so you go through them. So Andy had big minutes for us. Daniel Bajos is a player that was injured, was in and out throughout the year, had some big moments for us throughout his career, has been pretty much a starter the entire time. And Alela has always found a way to play in our biggest games. And, that's something, he's a hardworking kid, gets the most out of his body. And really you had done it in multiple positions for us. And, you just look at nationals and conference finals and conference playoffs, Alela's playing big minutes. And I think it's a credit to his hard work that he has gotten to that point.
Absolutely, no question.
To wrap it up, and then obviously we spoke about Gabe already.
I know Santos.
Gabe's kind of the leader of that. You look at how much time they've all played. Gabe's probably had the most minutes for us. And again, I spoke to you earlier about Gabe's heart. So this group, I'm really happy they ended off with a conference championship, because again, primarily most of them would have left without winning something, which would have been 4 years of heartache. At least now they're walking out with a conference championship. So that's an awesome feeling and feat for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for them, in some cases, like you said, Hickling, Eric, who, have been here, 5 years, and to have had 5 USCAAs. And then on top of that, some of those seniors to have won the conference championship twice, but then others to have at least won it once. I think that's important, because you do look back on that. I know you've done this already and you don't think about it because you can't. You have to go back to next season. But I think at least for them to have at least won that, I think it does give you that satisfaction. And let's talk about, obviously, some of those moments before we go and put a bow on the season. And obviously October 29th, you have been talking about that. And that's one of those wins you're going to remember. We're going to talk about November 2nd next. And I know we kind of spoke about it, but that run you had, I think, from the Bloomfield game going into November 2nd, it kind of, to me, was what we spoke about at the very beginning, was that you guys really hit your stride at the halfway point of the season, where you had that run of games, and it obviously, I think, plateaued with October 29th and then November 2nd.
Yes. So I think it all stems from our Berkeley loss. So Berkeley lost, and I believe we lost to Syracuse the weekend after. So those trips we tied Bloomfield 0-0, lost to Berkeley 4-3 in a heartbreaker of a game where it was back and forth. It was an instant classic. It was one of those where there's just now so much mutual respect between both programs. We realize we lift each other up, and locally it's a close game. It's City Jersey kids versus City Long Island, Queens kids, and it's just a bloodbath, but it was an epic game. And then we tied Bryan Stratton Albany up in Albany and played terrible. And then we lost to Syracuse 1-0. And there was just a turn where it was, we got to win, because that was when we were going to drop down. We were 1, and then we dropped to tied for first with 3 teams, which I think knew in our heart we weren't the number 1 team. Like, we had just lost to Berkeley. Why are we tied for first? And then we dropped down all the way to 4 after we lost to Syracuse. And that's when you start looking around and realizing we better start winning, or we should stop, nationals. And forget nationals, our conference playoffs were on the line, right?
Yep.
Because it was so tightly competitive.
And you were playing these teams too, like Bloomfield.
Again, we were seeing them again.
Yeah.
We were seeing them again. And the fact was, the 2 ties against Bloomfield and Albany, which credit to them, they got a result against us. We did not look great. And there was a lot and that was where, like, lineup switching, and that was where those texts, like, late at night that I'm texting with the staff, like, about changing things, because it did not look great. It looked like a situation where, especially if you start going ahead, and this is a dangerous game to ever play, you go ahead, you see how you're going to end the season with Rochester, looking at Rochester and then Syracuse. That's not a pretty place to be in. So we had this sort of, I kind of at practice turned around and told the boys, it's playoffs now. Like we started our playoff run middle of October. These are playoff games. Like you cannot lose. Like there's no losing. And they kind of bought into that mentality. And we started playing our best soccer. And it all came to, I thought the Rochester game, we were down in that game. And Rochester had our number for a while. I'll be honest, personally, love Coach Wynn. He's my guy. He's one of my closest coaching friends. I had to listen the entire time I'm with the national team in Mexico how he's 3-0 against 5 towns, and that 5 towns I had to hear it for a whole week in Mexico. And I had told our guys, I'm like, I'm sick of hearing it. I am sick. He's a great guy, and he's always friendly. I'm sick of it. Like we need to put this to bed. And when we got that win, and Valverde had a big goal that game, Gabe had a big goal. Like we got that win, it gave us like, okay, we can beat the giants of our league. We can do this. Let's go. Like we already beat Syracuse. We beat Rochester.
What I thought about that was you beat them twice in a week. That's what's even more difficult.
It was twice in 2 weeks. It was twice because like we had them the last game, Syracuse. I guess it was. No, you're right. It was a week. It was
twice in a week. It was twice in a week. Think about that.
It's twice in a week, and we'll get into later what happened at Nationals, but like that was crazy in and of itself too because we had them. Okay, you won against them. We were so focused on just getting a result against Syracuse. I remember being on the bus and they're singing, "We just beat the number 1 team in the country." There's a video on Instagram and camera.
Yeah, I saw it.
And I'm sitting in the front by myself going, "We got to beat Darren again. We got to win a final." Because I have a sick brain when it comes to being competitive. We lost 3 straight conference finals. Like, I don't know what I was going to do if we lost the 4th. Like, full transparency. Like, you start questioning yourself.
You're going into Buffalo Bills territory.
People talk about the 49ers. So that's where I'm like, and it's Darren. And you just beat Darren the week before, and his team. They have 40 at Nationals when they announced their roster. 40 guys, all from anywhere but in the United States, like Ireland, you name it. Like literally they're from every other country, right? And there's 40 of them getting announced, and there's our 20. We have 24 guys, 40 guys. They're an army. They're Darren's army, and and credit to our guys that we found a way. And I think it's also something to mention. We put on these pink jerseys and we didn't lose in them until Nationals, and we had to keep wearing them. So we wore them. I
was at Thanksgiving. I went out to eat for Thanksgiving, and I was talking about superstitions. Yeah, there's always superstitions. No.
Yeah, listen, so we had Morelli's mom on our sleeve, and after we won, I told him, I said I think she was she was with us on this run because there was some just out of this world sort of moments that you can't kind of describe, and she passed away quite a few years ago, but so we had a whole breast cancer thing, and a kid we haven't mentioned who I think really was an impact player for us was John Pisani from JP, we call him. He had a great year for us playing.
Yeah, we spoke about him in the past, Pisani.
Yeah. So he had a great year as well. And the breast cancer day, he actually spoke about his mom and her battle, and it was really emotional. And I think that brought our group together. And I think that kind of led to that run. And so you win, right? So you beat Rochester, and then you have to go to Syracuse, and they're the Giants. There's things that we could talk about that we can't talk about on air here, but there's definitely a lot of animosity there. I'll leave it at that. And let's just say it was hostile when we got there. We had certain staff were screaming at the top of their lungs as we're getting out of the locker room. It was not a friendly, even though there wasn't a big crowd, it just was not a friendly environment. You could listen to the audio of the game. And we kind of were like, we're all in this together. It's us against the world. And we refused to lose. And again, we were down 1-0, but we walked off the field going, we can get one. And we did. I believe Edward got the third one for us to put us up. And then we gave up a goal late. And that could have been the momentum changer, especially when we went down a man. Bajos got sent off with a red card. So we were playing down a man in overtime. And you could see they were getting tight. And we were just like, let's just get this to penalties.
You had brought that up with Garcia, basically saying, listen, he was kind of telling everybody, listen, just go out there, and there was that could have played tight. I think that's a very good point. You could
Yeah,
have
we
played
didn't play tight. Andre and Campbell's led to, as well, but we didn't play tight, and we went to penalties. And there's a missed thing on this. They didn't score a pen. We went to penalties, and we scored 3 of our 4, and they missed all 4 of theirs. So they had wanted no part of penalties, and you move on. And then once you do that, you take out the number 1. As much as it's Darren, I think, and Rochester, we were confident. We were like, you know what? Like, we can do this. Like, this is our championship to win. We got to go to Albany, which is a neutral site, and it's a place that we've always struggled to play at going back to the first year I've been.
I remember that, yeah.
We struggled against Albany Pharmacy, and it's their field, right? So we've always struggled when we've gone up there.
We've always struggled against them in all of our sports.
Yeah, we've struggled to go up there. And so to get a result 1-0, and we kind of became this throw-in team, which is funny. We're like the shortest team in the country, but JP has this great throw-in, and Valverde, is great at winning the first one and heads it off, and then Edwards found a way to get on the back of it, and we became like almost like throw-in merchants. We were literally Syracuse's coach was screaming, "Stop giving them throw-ins!" And like again, this is not Merchant Marine Academy where we have a bunch of guys that are 6'3". I know. We've kind of found the way, and that was something that you're just like, wow, we have something special because we're just finding ways to score goals and win. So, that was Syracuse to wrap it up. It was definitely a sweet feeling running onto the field and them winning. And, it was
them being, the top ranked team too, right?
They were number 1. So like the poll came out during the game. So as the game was going on, the poll comes out. They're 1, we're 2. And when we won, it was like, let's go win a championship. And that led to November 2nd.
And Edward Washington, who we haven't spoke about, what has made him this clutch player? You spoke about him, previously in the 20th game. What makes him that? And he's a young player too. I mean, this guy's got ice in his veins.
Yeah, he's a sophomore. Edward is a kid. I talk about Garcia being from Brentwood. Edward Washington is from Amityville. If you say, what are the 2 top programs,
Amityville,
longevity-wise, it's Brentwood on the big schools, Amityville on the small schools. If you said Fiscina, where do you need to get kids from in Suffolk? I need to get a kid from Brentwood. I need to get a kid from Amityville. And it was a struggle to get. It took basically 4 years of making 3 years of making the national tournament in a row to get Garcia and to get Washington here. And Edward is a kid whose life story will make you get emotional about what he's just overcome and the adversity he goes through. And he's so happy just to be at Five Towns and to be a part of our program. And he's a kid that will do anything to help us win. And he's been in the right place at the right time. And, he actually got bloody in our conference final. And, he had a head-on collision. And, the trainer's fixing him up, and he goes, "Coach, I'm going back in." I'm like, "Eddie, just no." He's like, "Coach, I'm going back in," and like, that's it. And he's not the biggest kid, but is he a tough son of a gun? And he just gets his head in on stuff. And, he found a way to score that goal, and it couldn't happen to a better kid. He's part of our HEOP program, and he's doing so well in the classroom as well. And I couldn't be more proud of him. He's definitely, I keep saying the word glue guy. Our team was a bunch of glue guys that like just put the program together, right? Like they're not the superstars, but they're just blue collar, hardworking guys that care about winning. And that photo will still make me smile at us winning the whole thing and putting the trophy up like that, and them singing afterwards. I mean, those are memories that will last forever.
No, and that's certainly a reason why he's important. I also want to shout out, speaking of people who did great in the classroom, Jose Cruz, academic All-American. I want to give him a big shout out too.
Listen, I don't know if I should be embarrassed about saying this right now, but that's our first one. And that's
I think it's very listen. Let me tell you, and you said it, and I when I went to John Jay, I know it's difficult, is to be a student and to be a student athlete, and then on top of you don't know about work, you got family. Listen, I didn't play college sports. But I remember, my parents were, especially my mother, was always on my back. She's not listening, so I can say whatever I want. She would always get on my back. Am I working? Am I going to contribute to the house? And it was tough to be. I wasn't playing sports, and it was tough. So and I was a commuter student too, so I know the grind. So it's not.
And a lot of our student athletes at Five Towns, particularly on our men's soccer program, are kids that are getting a second chance to do well academically. Right? They're not coming from necessarily a prep school where they had all this support,
you had Jordan Tobin who played, right? Like 30 jobs. I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah, so like this is what I mean. So like, and credit to him, He also he's just a great teammate. He works his butt off every day in training. He's always asking how he can get better. But I was very happy to finally say we have an academic All-American. And the way that award works, you kind of have to be in the school for a year. So I expect with the internationals we brought in this year, we'll have a few more than just one moving forward, which is something obviously we want to take pride in as well. So
no question. And obviously winning the conference tournament, winning that, as you said, getting the monkey off for a lot of the players' backs. So we win that. So what happened then in the nationals? You're seeded second. I know. What happened?
So we're going into bid day thinking we actually have an outside chance at one. Like you look at it, we beat the number one team. And I didn't want one. I was like, I've been there beating the number one team. I'm good with 2. I'm good with 3. I'm good with just get us into the tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're releasing the teams and I'm like, they didn't call Rochester yet. And I'm just like, this is a problem. Like, this is a problem because, like, to me, they deserve to be there, like, without question. And when they said the 6 seed Rochester at the time, I didn't think anything of it. But now looking back on it, you talk about beating a good team twice in a week. Beating a good team 3 times in two weeks.
I know in sports it's a very difficult thing.
I mean, look, like, and that's not making excuses. At the end of the day, we had chances early, like in the first 20 minutes, we were taking it. We had chances to score, and if we don't hit some posts, does the game change? Probably. But at the end of the day, he's a great coach. They're a great team. For us to beat them 3 times was probably asking a lot to happen. And go our way. And we kind of unraveled a little bit. Garcia had been steady all year for us, had a rough few moments. But again, it was the whole team. We didn't score early either. We had chances to score and it kind of unraveled. And, at the end of the day, to win a national championship, you got to have some breaks. And I think that was one of those things where we just ran out of breaks. We kind of used up our breaks and used up our mojo.
Say that if you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Yeah, and unfortunately for us, it just was not a good. And I kept asking, Topol and I had a lot of conversations. I kept asking, like, what is Wade going to do? What are they going to do different? Right? Because we had just seen them for 2, and not even just seen them in like 2 regular games. Last game of the regular season matters, right? And then seeing them in the conference final, like they treated that like a national. So like I'm sitting there going, what adjustment are they going to make?
You played them 3 times in 18 days.
Yeah, and then we timed earlier in the year. So what happened? What they did do was they were a little more. Listen, they have grown men. They're older, and we're still young. And they basically, and this is nothing official wise, but they played a very physical style. And I think it took us for a loop a little bit. And
it's hard to beat somebody 3 straight times. I mean,
it really is. And then after you do that, and what was probably the low point of the season was after you do that, the way the Division I was set up is that you go there basically a day earlier. We have to sit through an award ceremony, knowing that your season is basically done. And then you play Fort Kent the next day. The fact that we were 1-1 with Fort Kent gave a lot to the resolve of this team, that we weren't like going to just lose. And then the second half, Campos gets hurt, Dre's banged up, things kind of unravel. But listen, it's the national tournament. Like, it's not easy. And that's where, like, you talk about, us having a 24-man roster and other teams having 40. That's the difference, right? Like their bodies, it's a long season, it's a grind. And
you guys traveled this year. That's the other thing I had pointed out is that you guys, I think, had it more difficult than these other teams because from where you're coming from.
100%. 100%. We're not close by. And I honestly don't know how it's even, as much.
These teams are all in the southern tier. They're all closer to upstate. They're all bunched up. Even Jersey's closer to them than you would be. You're all the way out here downstate. And to go up there, and on top of that, these kids are commuter students. These kids are going. Their bodies aren't used to it. And I'm not making excuses.
And at the end of the day,
I'm just saying what the reality is.
Yeah, and listen, it's what we signed up for, right? It's what we signed up for. But yeah, I think when you put everything together, it's hard to win a national championship. It's hard. It's hard to once you get there. So I don't look at that as like, oh, it was so bad. The fact is, I would argue this year was better than the 3 years prior because you know what? we won a championship, and that's something that you can't take away. And as the longer I do this, the more I realize those championship moments are just so special that you got to let it go.
I think also what this team was talent-wise compared to like 22 or just what this team had to deal with in adversity, I think makes this team in a way maybe more special than other teams.
Let this sink in. I'm gonna mention something right now. We lose Angel Chavez, the greatest goal scorer.
I know we spoke about it many times on.
We lose Hector Ruiz, academic eligibility, right? Hector could have been the National Player of the Year last year.
He was a player you were very high on. Yep.
Right, high on. He was.
Well, you said for this year you were counting big things from him.
Sebastian Cuenca transfers. Those are 3 big-time players, and then a program guy like those are big names. Christian Torres also left. Those are big names of guys that left, and it could have been very easy. And then we thought we were going to get Josue Fuentes back, and we didn't get him back because he couldn't get a 5th year. It could have been very easy for this group to turn around and say, "Hey, it's been 4 years of winning. We'll be good." But it's not, and they refused to do that. And I think it's a credit to them. This was as connected as a team as I've ever coached. You want to talk about Five Towns, Malloy, wherever I've been, this team had a very special brotherhood and connectivity.
Well, the family point. Listen, when I heard some of the players talk about that, Pisani was one of those players who just came in here, and I heard them all talk about that. Forget about me, I love you. And I think that motto, that's what led you all to having that success as a team. And yeah, there was definitely different things. And I think that winning that conference championship, to me, at the end of the day, is the icing on the cake. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a quirk in the schedule to play a team three times in 18 days.
I don't even get mad at the USCAA because I know, like, they've looked at things in the past and been like, okay, matchup. But the fact was, and I kept saying this, our conference deserved 4 bids to the now. We didn't play. The 4 of us didn't play well at nationals, but we were still 4 of the top 6 teams in the country. Let that sink in. Berkeley, Syracuse, 5 Towns,
Rochester.
Brian Stratton, Syracuse, 5 Towns, Berkeley, Brian Stratton, Rochester. Yep. Those 4 teams are top 6 in the country. So what happened was when they had to make the pools, we all were going to have to play somebody.
Right? And some of you were ranked number 1 during the entire season for 3 weeks.
So we were all going to have to play at least one game. They didn't want to put couldn't see a world where they were going to put 3 of us in the same group. So we were stuck with it. So here was our gift. Our gift was either play Rochester, right? Because you're not going to play Syracuse, right? Because we're 1-2. Either get Rochester or get Berkeley, who the last time they played us, they beat us. Either way, we were in it was a bad matchup. It was not a good matchup. And by the way, Edward Washington just entered the chat. So
we want to say hello to Eddie.
Eddie, we spoke very highly about you and all your goals this year.
He's definitely clutch. And if you're here on Sportswire, hit the sub button for us. And we'd like to get some of the players on after.
We'll definitely set that up.
I love that. But so I guess then after what happened in nationals, and I always ask you this question. You talked a little bit about it before we get ready to close the show. So what are some of the goals for next season in terms of how do we in nationals have success? Because we won the conference, but now so
recruiting is the and I say it every year. Recruiting is the lifeline of our program. You can pause it, rewind it every year. Recruiting is the lifeline of our program. We need to get more internationals. We have to get the best Long Island kids we can. We have to retain the players we have. We have to get our roster bigger, and it's just a never settled mentality. It's the life of being a college coach. So you enjoy it, right? You enjoy the moments, but once that Thanksgiving hits and it's Christmas, you get Christmas, the recruiting list starts becoming important, and you start realizing who you got to replace. And this year we have a haul of players we need to replace. Do I believe we can do it 100%? I believe in our coaching staff.
You've done it before.
I believe in our players, so I believe we can do it. It's just going to be put our hard hats on and go to work. And your players, more importantly now, recruit for you, right? Because when your players have a good experience, they tell their friends about it, and that's where I think the growth of the program is going to be even more so where we have now word of mouth of, hey, I had a good experience here. You should look at 5 towns. So with that being said, like, it's just recruiting. We have to recruit better. We have to get better players, and we have to improve the players we have. We have to have a good spring. We have to get better in training, and we have to just dare to be better, and that's to kind of honor this group now, right? Because every year you have to you play for that prior class, right? So now we got to play.
I think it's a different mindset. When you came here first 6 years ago, it was like, okay, we had this season that was better than expected. Then we had COVID, and everybody was just trying to stay together and gobble a coalition. 21 was special. 22 was still a good season, but we lost in the conference. 23 was the heartbreak and penalty kicks, and we didn't know if we were going to make it. Last year, we played a tougher schedule.
First year in Division I, and I think we got some breaks, and we had I think you look at 22 and 24. Like 23, we actually had the biggest roster we ever had, right? We had close to 30 guys on the roster. 22 and 24 had a lot of individually talented players, and they were a group and a family, but they were missing that just true love for each other. They were missing that sort of like, I need the guy next to me, right? More than even I need myself, right? And that's where this group was like, we need each other. They were more, there was no like, okay, Chavez is the guy, Ruiz is the guy. There was none of that with this group. It was all like, we're all the guys. We need to all play well to win games, and the talent we're going against. And I think the schedule was a gauntlet, but it also prepared us.
I think that was something last year. What we talked about. I think you've always had a schedule that you've tried to play. 23, that schedule came in handy as to why you made the tournament. Last year, it hardened you. And I think that when I look back before we close the show here soon, is that the second half where this team came in stride, I think the schedule helped out in itself, which I go back to when I think about this season and putting a bow on it. Is there one or two moments? I think there are obvious ones, but to me, is there one or two moments that stand out most? I mean, I think we've talked about them, but I'll still ask it to you.
So we could go as Fisher early on was a big win. Losing to Maritime, we lost on a really rough couple, just unfortunate things happened.
Big crowd always. You always get a big crowd there.
Yeah, big crowd, and there was just some unfortunate things that happened. We kind of lost the game that we could have easily tied or won. I think beating Syracuse, so we had a stretch. Get this, we had a stretch where we played Berkeley midweek, Rochester Saturday, Syracuse Sunday. Think about that. I literally,
we had Bloomfield twice in a span of 2 weeks.
Yeah. But look at those 3 games in September, right? And this is again, Coach Wynn makes the schedule for the conference, and I literally joked with him. I said, I understand I'm home, but you couldn't, separate the 3. Literally,
you guys were on the road far more this year. What did you guys play, like more than twice the games on the road?
It was something like that. But getting into like moments, so that stretch where we're home and we get 2 draws and we beat Syracuse, and then we get so that was a big uplift for us, right? And then I think what happened was we were 1. We felt good about ourselves,
right?
And we all knew that the 1 was a very high ranking, but that stretch, as you said, that stretch where we went tie, loss, we kind of regrouped in that moment and said, okay, this is our season. We need to start winning. And so that was a big sort of turning point. So the Syracuse win at home was big. And then when obviously that run of Bloomfield, Albany, Buffalo was in that run, Rochester, Syracuse, Rochester, that run that's going to go down. I know 21 had more consecutive wins, but that run, the way I just laid that out.
I think the
amount of teams we played and the amount of games and the distance traveled, that was a hell of a stretch. And I think by the end of it, looking back on it now, and you see what happened at Nationals, we were probably emotionally exhausted because we were playing playoffs.
You were burned out,
man. We were playing playoff games. starting in early to mid-October. And
I was gonna say, if you go back and you want to go back to back Bloomfield, Berkeley, then you do it again the following weekend, Albany, then Syracuse, then you get a game at Bloomfield, and then you got Buffalo, and then Albany, and then you're going on the road again for all those games. I mean, and they were all games that you either won or lost by one goal. I mean, think about in the stretch.
Tom, are you able to pull up our schedule right now?
I have it right in front of me. I can.
Yeah, if you could share it. I think it would be just a good visual to see. Like,
yeah, because I mean, and you look at it here, just for those that are going to watch this or with us right now. Think about it, right? So you go to Bloomfield. Let's start from the 4th, right? Bloomfield's the 4th, the 5th. You go to Berkeley the next day. Then you have the next weekend. You're at Albany. Then you're in Syracuse, right?
Yep.
Then we come back middle of the week, the midweek.
Yep.
That was a Thursday. You're home. Then you have another home game at the 19th.
Albany.
Right? That was Then you're back again midweek. This is a time. This time you're on a Wednesday in Albany, and then you're back out again. You got the 26th, the tournament, the 2nd.
Yep.
And look at that stretch. So think about that, right?
That stretch right there. And it's because, again, remember, Bloomfield and Albany tied us.
Yep.
So they were confident. Like that was the thing. Although coming and listen, at our home place, we're one of the few teams that have grass. It's hard to play at our place. It just is. We play well at home. But you look at that stretch, like going into that, you knew it was do or die. You knew it was basically you couldn't lose to Bloomfield and you couldn't lose to Albany.
And you were playing games in penalty kicks, overtime. I mean, those are draining. Like you said, every game is a playoff game. All these games are games that are decided by inches. Like I said, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're talking about a 10-game stretch that you play in 4 weeks. I mean, that's 10 games in 28 days, and you're traveling on top of that, and you're playing some of these games here in midweek. It was almost a playoff game within a playoff game, and I think that's a testament to you and the players, the resolve. But I mean, ultimately, you were going to come down from this. I mean, we
were, and it was, you almost wished Nationals was a week earlier. Like, even though the rest, and this is where I kind of also knew. So I had a thing where Mondays were off because we were playing on Sunday. So Monday became the off day. And what I did after we won the conference was I turned around. I said, you're going to be off Monday and Tuesday. And I said this because we got guys with jobs. We got guys.
You got school.
We have guys, truthfully, we have guys who have families, right? Like have their own families. So I said, for 2 days, get yourselves in order, figure out your household, and we got to come back Wednesday. And we had practice Wednesday, to give you an idea, 9 p.m. at night in Deer Park. I got a turf field for us to practice under the lights. 9 o'clock, we were going to go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then go Monday, Tuesday, and we were going to be driving down Wednesday to play Thursday. And that's the other thing too. We drive Wednesday and you play Thursday. That's a tough thing to go drive from.
Listen, I get wrestlers on here.
But when I kind of knew we were in trouble was that first practice we came back, and of the 24, we had 15 to 16 guys because guys couldn't get out of work. Guys just couldn't make it. And I looked around and I said, "This is the problem." And it's tough, but you've gone through a whole season where, again, the travel, it's not like you're saying I need to take a day off. Tom, you got to take 2 days off because if you're 3 days off, you got to take Friday, you have to travel up. Saturday, you got to play. So
it's a grind. Listen,
at some point, I turned around and I just said, you know what, guys, this is what we got to do. We're going to make the best of it as long as everyone's back. And we had a great session on the Monday. The Monday before, and then Tuesday session was okay. And I think in my heart of hearts, I was like, we could be in trouble, but you never want to go there. You're always positive.
Right.
But I think it's just looking back on it now and just talking it through with you. We were exhausted.
I think that it ultimately looked, you guys mentally and physically were drained. We see this all the time in sports or in anything. You guys are humans. And I think that ultimately the writing was on the wall, but to do what you guys wound up doing, that 10-game stretch in 28 days, only losing twice. And then every game is a playoff game. Every game is, it's decided by inches, and to do what you do and finally win back the conference for the first time in 5 years, getting to a USCAA for a 5th straight year. And I think for the players that are especially leaving, I think it was important for them. But I also think some of the key players, before we sign off, it's good for them to have tasted. They now know what to do to win in the Nationals. And I think the schedule that you've put out, you've always put a schedule out that prepares, and we'll have to certainly see what happens. But before I leave you here tonight, and I wanted to always throw this out to you, what do you want to say to the players then on the season that was, and just summing things up before we put
we're going to have exit meetings, and there's one U.S. national team thing we'll discuss quickly, but I wanted for my guys, just thank you for a ride. It's an honor to be your guys' coach. I love you guys as much as you sometimes make me nuts. But you guys definitely set a standard and continue to wear the crest with pride, and really did some amazing things, and you'll be forever ingrained as champions. And that's something that never gets taken away from you, as someone who won an ECC title in 2008. And listen, they get to hear about it because we got
guys have come on here.
We got Topol and Morelli there. So
I've had guys have come on here before and said, Fiscina's shown us the ring. He's shown us the ring, so that.
So basically, they get to see that every day, and that's something that I'm so happy that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. And I see it, like our 21 group, Montenegro is trying to, I think this summer we're going to have like a big barbecue.
Nice.
Because now they've all graduated, right? So now we can kind of do that. But if you win, there's nothing greater. There's nothing more euphoric than that in team sports. And you're going to be forever ingrained. Like they can't, no matter what you say, what happened at Nationals, we won a championship. And on top of that, no one else in our conference won any other hardware. So guess what? We won a championship. We all went to Nationals. No one else won it. We're the only ones who lifted a trophy this year. And that's something that's going to last a lifetime. So I did want to share the U.S. national team is actually coming into camp this weekend. They come in Friday. It's tryouts, so it's a big deal. World Cup tryouts. We got about 20 guys coming down, which is great. We're going to be in All Island Sports Complex.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know All
Island in Deer Park, right by the train station. We're gonna be training there 8 to 10 on Friday, and then Saturday we have a morning conditioning workout at a gym, VSP, and then we are back in at All Island Sportsplex 4 to 6 on Saturday and 7 to 9 on Sunday morning. If you're around, especially Saturday, you want to come check it out. It really will change your perspective on things. Nico Collar, all our big players will be there. So it's going to be very competitive. I got to pick 15, and there's honestly 25 in our player pool. Some guys can't make it. But big things ahead for the U.S. men's national amputee team, all in preparation for the World Cup in Costa Rica at the end of July. And I'm still having a hard time grasping that I'm going to be coaching in a World Cup. That's as a small college coach who teaches full time, to say that I'm going to be able to coach in a World Cup is awesome. And that run and that journey, winning 3 straight games down in Mexico to qualify, almost beating Mexico in Mexico, and that's another final we lost. So going into it, I had lost 4 straight finals, and I was just
I don't want to jinx you.
At least I was on the bench for this one on my side, so I was like, we had lost 4 straight finals. I'm like, maybe it's me. Maybe what am I? And you hate to go on that route. You're always about self-improvement, but I'm like 4 times. Like this is crazy. So, but yeah, I want to share that. We thanked Matejko.
Yes, love Coach Matejko.
We thanked Matejko. Sean, who's an admissions rep for us, who also does all the SID stuff, our website, which is all nice and new. He's doing a great job.
Great. I mean, it's the best the site's looked in like.
Yeah, we just brought flag football in. They actually just posted. We signed our first female recruit. We have a new soccer coach. Last thing briefly,
and I want to give a big shout out to Coach Litwin, who did a great job.
Go. And I couldn't be, and I still talk to him pretty much every morning.
Love Coach Litwin.
Couldn't be more proud. That's a job that I know he really wanted. And the opportunity to see him get that is definitely uplifting. And he's going to do really great things. He's already got like 3 girls signed. I think you might hear some former 5 Towns names, not to kind of burst anyone's bubble, but I think they might be wearing the green of the Panthers. So I think some of those girls will be going over there, and he's doing a great job. And I know he's going to do big things in the skyline. So, they're on the rise for sure. And I couldn't be more proud of him, but he's also been one of our biggest supporters. Again, every morning.
Love Coach Litwin.
So he's a good dude.
I have to ask you one more thing before we sign up. You got to get a game like in New York City. When are you guys going to get a game on the schedule so I can watch you guys? I'm waiting for years for this. I know Maritime, but it's a little bit out of my way. You got to get something. Can we get you?
Here's the thing. Megger's already on for next year, but those city schools all want to come to us. Because they don't want to rent the field because then they got to pay. So, but for you, Tom, I will try and get at least a scrimmage or something. I know Hunter likes coming to us because they have to just drive.
Well, they want to get out. Well, I think it's also they want to get out of the city. They don't want to be in
Tom, the fact that you've mentioned that, here's the deal. I will get that. But you got to go to Johnson's house and host a show from the Pez thing. I will get you a city
I
game.
can't guarantee that, sadly.
You got to figure something out.
Well, I'll bring him on the show.
You definitely got to hit him up because then I'll hear about it tomorrow.
I'm going to talk to him when we get off the air. We're gonna definitely do that because I do owe him, and I would like to hear from him, and that's great stuff. And obviously, we've taken enough of your time, and I hope you come back on here before next season and everything else. But we'll give you the physical copy. And I didn't mention Coach Gordias because he'll be here again in 3 weeks.
Listen, Gordiaso's on a high right now. He's won some games early.
He's doing well.
He's on a high. He keeps thinking, he keeps saying it's the year. I said, listen, I'm pulling. Listen, my coach left my alma mater, so I know he's at Mercy. Gladiatos at Queens. Those are weird teams for me to be pulling for, but I like my guys. But they're off to a good start.
Listen, you know what? Keep it going. I don't want to jinx it, but
you don't want to jinx anything.
No, I don't want to jinx it.
We're talking about all this playoff stuff. I would love to be having a conversation here about Queens' success in playoffs and going to nationals. We would love to hear about that.
You know what? I hope that is. I hope in March. Listen, I hope he comes back in March and they've made.
And again, it'd be nice. It'd be nice, and we could have that conversation. It'd be great.
I would like to talk more about college sports. Believe me, I would. So we'll do that at a different time. But I'm going to pass the baton to you. I'm going to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say? I'm going to put the FTC Instagram page for the soccer team and take it away.
Obviously, with any season, the family of a coach sacrifices the most. So shout out to the wife, Beth, and my two beautiful daughters, Lauren and Maddie, who sacrifice a lot for me to do something that I love. I hope, they get to see that. Following their passion and all that. And our guys are great with them when they come to practice. But I'm enjoying some family time now for sure, but we're back on the grind and recruiting. And, for all our players, our former players, I couldn't be more proud of the standard you guys have set both on and off the field. You've left a mark. My coaching staff is the best in the country. Wells, Morelli, Topol,
Glancy. Always say Coach
Glancy. Always, they're first class. They help our program every single day get better. Our administration, John Matejko, the rest of our administration has been fantastic this year. Dr. Jeff always helping out. We're truly blessed to be in the situation that we are. Yes, we have challenges, but, we overcome those. And, we've proven that the Little Five Towns Music School can have a national power program, which is something that we spoke about in our first interview in 2019. And I think you want to be a national, and with the bad audio, hearing me say national power and to look this many years from now. And
I know, but how about this? You said if they build it, they will come. And you know what? I mean, yeah, you kind of did. I mean, if they build it, they will come. And that's what you've done. I mean, and you did that during COVID. That's the other thing. What you've done is that you also had this whole COVID thing that could have set you back, and we could have had, a one-hit wonder, 5 towns, but no.
So many programs we saw close. Like, it was crazy. You look back on it now, there's so many programs that closed. Like, schools closed, programs canceled. Programs are still fighting back. Like, there's still programs that had not recovered like fully from COVID. And you see what we've done in 21, just setting that standard. And again, yes, you don't maybe have the number one, and then that was great about this year. You got the number one ranking back, right? Something that we haven't done in a long time since 21. But we've kept the standard very, very high.
But I think also I think the schedule has improved since then. And for you to do that and to continue.
Morelli likes to mention that, because not to knock 21, but Morelli likes to remind me in 21, we played some schools that
we'll leave that at that. But I
didn't belong on the same field.
But one of the things you even said then was that after we had lost the national championship, was that you did want to play more. So I remember asking you that question. You came on here after that season, after what happened, and I think you have made a subconscious effort always to improve the schedule. And I think that's why this season, in a lot of ways, to me, is as impressive because of who we played. There's very few layups throughout the year. So I think to do what the team did, I think it's going to go and have an even better. We're still going to have players back. We're going to have Garcia. We're going to have Washington. We're going to have, we're going to have guys back on this team. We're going to have Pisani. So I think that it's going to be another season that we're going to be excited about. And I really think the best is yet to come. And congratulations on the Coach of the Year, winning that back-to-back years. In previous years, we were like, why didn't you win it? But you got it once again. I think well-deserved. And we want to certainly thank you and thank you for everything you've done for us. And I want to thank your staff as well. Certainly shout out Coach Morelli, Coach Glancy, certainly Coach Wells, certainly for the dinner table, Coach Topple. Want to make sure we shout them out and thank you really and the school for supporting us and still coming on here every year. We really look forward to seeing the players here. And I just want to thank you for everything. And congratulations and happy holidays. And we'll see you back here, I'm sure, in 26.
Yeah, for sure. You can mark it down.
Right. Oh, I know. I don't even have to. I don't have to mark it. I know you're coming because you've been here every year. You've been the one constant. And that is the constant. That is the head coach of the Five-Town Sound men's soccer team. That is also the NACIA Coach of the Year for the second consecutive year. Also, the Five-Town Sound men's soccer team won the NACIA Conference Championship here in men's soccer. They were ranked number 1 in the USCAs for 3 weeks, and he is also right now Mr. Coach Fiscina, the coach of the United States Amputee men's soccer team, and it is FTC Men's Day for good reason on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voiced figuratively and literally with all music and wrestling matters. If you're here on Sportswire Radio, hit the sub button for us. Please support Five Times on Instagram, their school page. Keep an eye on those pages for more information. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll be back here tomorrow. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one Global Radio, isn't it? Sportswire Radio with all music and wrestling. Thank you, everybody.